Joe Manchin, he's a senator, he's a Democrat. His favorite pastime is attacking Democrats for proposing legislation that actually makes sense. In fact, I have an example for you. Here he is.
When you say a centrist is the way forward, that does not sound like an Elizabeth Warren, for instance.
Elizabeth would have a hard time in West Virginia. She really would. But she's welcome to come down. Maybe she can change her positions. These are all my friends. I've worked with everybody, from the right to the left to the. I'm able to work with everybody, but I want them to see the real world.
So I'm curious which policies Elizabeth Warren has pushed for that West Virginians would not like. Because as far as I'm concerned, Americans, regardless of their political affiliation, are sick of government corruption. One of the more recent proposals from Warren included, preventing our lawmakers from investing in companies that they would be passing laws on. So for instance, if you're trying to do something about pharmaceutical drugs, doesn't make sense for you to own stock in pharmaceutical drug companies. It's kind of like insider trading, although for some reason, when it comes to the political world, they're allowed to, again, be invested in the companies that they're able to pass laws on. That's crazy. So do West Virginians not like that? It's funny how Joe Manchin never mentions the actual policies that he believes his constituents don't support.
And the thing is, he's also setting the tone for West Virginians to be opposed to her. So they're automatically already coming from this position of, now you need to convince me on why I should vote for you. And this just really seemed like an orchestrated kind of posturing by him. That's absolute and utter nonsense and no recitation of any facts or any legislation or anything that Warren has been behind.
If every time he talks about anything, honestly, we had some other clips of him, he brings up West Virginians and our values. He was mad about what Rashida Tlaib had to say. He goes, West Virginians, we're not raised that way. He's always campaigning to make sure he doesn't look like or sound like or act like a Democrat or what people would perceive a Democrat to be. So he's like, hey, you guys, I have nothing to do with anything progressive, anything democratic in our system. I'm a guy in West Virginia and I want to keep my job. So no matter what is said, I don't like those guys on the left, but I work with the guys on the right, which makes me somewhere in the middle because my name still has a D next to it. It's a constant audition for the job he's already got. So we've talked before about how politicians, their whole job once they get into office is to keep the job. So not to legislate, not to represent anyone, not to actually listen to constituents. So when he says stuff like West Virginians want nothing to do with anti-corruption bills or keeping your money from going to the richest of folks and just getting taken from you by our politicians, the next question, as you said, it's an easy question to ask. So are West Virginians for corruption? Right. These are anti-corruption bills that she's put forward.
Right, so she's put forward anti-corruption bills. And another thing that Warren is known for, look, everyone always wants to focus on the nonsense. No one wants to focus on the policies. So if you disagree with her response to Trump calling her Pocahontas, fine. But that's not what's gonna change your life or impact your life at the end of the day. What impacts you is what she puts forth policy-wise. So another thing she wanted to do was take banks like Wells Fargo to task for wrongfully foreclosing on Americans who shouldn't have had their homes foreclosed, right? For opening accounts that people had not wanted at Wells Fargo, right? That was a huge scandal. There were so many scandals coming out of Wells Fargo, and Elizabeth Warren, took them to task in a hearing that I thought was incredible. So do West Virginians hate that? Do West Virginians enjoy being foreclosed on by big banks, wrongfully foreclosed on by big banks? Is that what you're saying, Senator Manchin? Is that what they don't like? I mean, it's pathetic. And the thing is, he gets away with it. Because the media also has no interest in talking about the policy proposals.
Nope, you're absolutely right. It's the superficial distraction and no one is paying attention and no one really spends the time to actually unearth the facts and find out the truth. And it's unfortunate because there are probably a lot of West Virginians who are just going to, I'm gonna defer with him and what he says, and because he understands the complicated, when really it's not that complicated at all. You just have a lot of people misrepresenting things to you.
And I think what he's making a mistake about, and I mean, time will tell, is that he's still in this old school mentality of, I work with both sides. No, but what you don't understand is right now, politicians, particularly Democratic politicians like let's say Heidi Heitkamp, right?
Yes.
Like working with the other, Claire McCaskill, that's another really good example, right? Claire McCaskill, where's Claire McCaskill? Oh, she's crying about AOC in a corner somewhere, okay? Because she tried to play the game that he's playing right now. It's not going to work long term. So you can go ahead and preach about your willingness to reach across the aisle. But what Americans really want are policies that protect them from corporate greed, that protect our democratic process from corruption, right? And so another thing, do West Virginians hate the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which returned $12 billion to Americans after they were basically screwed by these major banks and corporations? Because that was an idea that came to fruition because of Elizabeth Warren. Do West Virginians hate that too? I don't know, I'm just curious. I wanna ask them. They never talk about the policies, and it drives me crazy.
They don't have to, because no one is forcing them to. That's why they won't come in. If you had that interview, you'd have to ask them that question, right?
Oh, I would love to interview him.
But he doesn't want to answer that question. They know who will ask him those questions, and they're not going to conduct those interviews. And if you do one time, you're like, let's scratch this name off the list to never come back here again.
Oh, absolutely.
If you're watching this, you should tweet to Senator Joe Manchin and ask him if he's willing to come and get interviewed on the Young Turks. I would love to interview him.
Cenk did once.
I'm sure he has, but I would love to do it too. So let's see if he's willing to come on.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.